My name is Alex Dolphin, and welcome back to another episode of Ex Ante. Today we're going to discuss the case of AFA Tours versus Whitchurch. This case was heard in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in the year 1991. Let's go ahead and jump into the facts of the case. So AFA Tours is the plaintiff here. Whitchurch is the defendant. The defendant, Whitchurch, worked for AFA Tours for quite a while, over I think 17 years for the company. And what he did was he conducted tours in the South Pacific. So he conducted tours for AFA in Australia, New Guinea, the South Pacific, right, New Zealand. 17 years of this, and he was quite a lucrative travel agent for the company. AFA Tours had a database filled with customer names, and AFA Tours also had, an informational database about the locations in the South Pacific. Now, Whitchurch had access to both of these. Whitchurch eventually left AFA Tours, and when Whitchurch left AFA Tours, he began to continue using the trade secrets of AFA Tours. So he used the customer list and the information. He continued to access those and solicit to those people with their information as he had taken it from AFA Tours. So AFA is, pretty angry about this. You could imagine if someone stole your customer list, especially a former employee, and they started their own business. So they filed a lawsuit. They filed this lawsuit in the Southern District Court of New York. This is a federal court. And so the question in this case is, does the amount in controversy satisfy the requirement of the United States Code? The United States Code lays out the amount in controversy in this case was $50,000. Now today that is $75,000, but we're going to travel back in time to the 1990s when it was $50,000. Okay, so it's $50,000, and in the Southern District of New York, the judge there says, sorry AFA Tours, you can't prove that you've got $50,000 worth of damages. The judge basically says, Whitchurch really only reached two of these people. Yeah, he emailed, over 1,000 of these prior customers, but he really only got responses back from two. And so it's hard for you to prove that you've satisfied the amount in controversy, that you've satisfied that $50,000, damage threshold to get yourself into federal court. AFA Tours also raises a punitive damage claim. They say, he should be punished for this under New York state law. And they say those damages are $250,000. Now, the court just kind of doesn't really consider those. The trial court just kind of tosses that issue to the side. So AFA Tours appeals this to the Second Circuit, and that's our opinion here. And the judge there says that the rule for proving an amount in controversy is, and I'm just going to read it, is that the sum claimed by the plaintiff controls if the claim is apparently made in good faith. So the claim has to be made in good faith. And then it must appear to a legal certainty that the claim is really less than the jurisdictional amount to justify a dismissal. So legal certainty is the key two words to take out of that phrase. Legal certainty. You have to have legal certainty that that plaintiff can't prove damages up to the amount in controversy, so $50,000 in this case. The Second Circuit reverses and remands this to the trial court because they say, you didn't really give AFA Tours a fair chance to prove that they can meet this amount in controversy. There's a couple of facts that they show that maybe, AFA Tours could meet this $50,000. One would be that there's a lot of repeat customers that AFA Tour gets, and if they get some of these repeat customers, and these repeat customers know Whitchurch, and they go with him because, they trust him because he had been working for AFA Tours, then very quickly this could, elevate above $50,000. The court says, just because two people have responded doesn't mean that more people aren't going to respond in the future. The court also reaches this question of punitive damages. And the Court of Appeals says that, for this punitive damage claim, it has to be valid under state law. And the New York state law allows punitive damages in cases like this if the misappropriation of trade secrets was gross and wanton. Those are the two words from the New York statute. They say, trial court, you really got to look at that. You got to see if this was a gross and wanton misappropriation of trade secrets. If it is, then the punitive damages can be taken into account to satisfy that $50,000 threshold. And if the court says, this was gross and wanton, then $250,000, yep, we definitely satisfy that $50,000 amount in controversy. So the key holding from this case is that you have to give a plaintiff a reasonable chance, a fair chance to prove that their claim, their damages, would satisfy the amount in controversy. And if you're going to dismiss it, you need to have legal certainty that they can't reach that amount in controversy. In this case, there just wasn't enough legal certainty to prove that you couldn't reach that amount in controversy. So that's the case. I think it's an interesting question to think about punitive damages in the state law and how that might open up some states as forums that are more friendly to litigation. So if a state is going to allow punitive damages to tally up and reach that amount in controversy, well, then that might be a more friendly place for litigation. You could think of a scenario wherein you only have compensatory damages of $1, but you have punitive damages of $80,000, right? And so those punitive damages will just get you into federal court if that state will allow it underneath their law. So what you could see is certain states passing these punitive damages laws and then opening up the federal courts in those states as forums that are more friendly to litigators. And I think that's interesting because the federal courts are kind of a shared resource, right, of all citizens. But one state, maybe be California, maybe be it New York, could open up their district courts as more of a forum that's friendly to litigators. And then the cost of that is borne by the full country, the full federal country. So kind of an interesting thing to think about. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye-bye.